last couple of days we've been talking about this Logan Paul, Conor McGregor story, and my phone continues to blow up. Fielding a lot of phone calls, talking to a lot of sources, talking to a lot of people, and that is the initial tweet that kind of, kicked all this off, right? That tweet right there. The rumors of a bout with Topuria are false. There were no real rumors, let's be honest. I'm in preliminary agreements with the Ambani family to face Logan Paul in a boxing exhibition in India. I have agreed. I will then seek my return to the octagon. So this was on December 17th, 2 days ago, and that's what really sparked everything. And then I've been talking to a lot of people. And so right after that, when we did the show on Tuesday, I said there is validity, right? There is a thing here. Save that tweet if we can. Save that tweet. There is validity. There is validity to this story. This is a real thing, and it's not just Conor chatting shit, as the kids like to say. And I've continued to look into it, and I've continued to talk to people. And now I feel compelled to say once again that us talking about it is not us endorsing this, right? We're not saying this is what we want. I think everyone will agree that we want Conor McGregor to, if he fights again, if he decides to fight again. Someone's texting me now about this. This is all, wow, it's all happening.
Real time. In real time, we're getting updates. Should I book a flight to India?
We'll see on the back end.
Okay, so it is. We all want Conor to fight in MMA if he fights again, right? Yes, we all agree. That's right. Okay. Got that out of the way. So let's talk about what I know as of right now on this Thursday afternoon. This family, the Ambani family, which I went through the stats, right? I went through the stats, courtesy GC got them for me very quickly. I will be honest, and perhaps it's shame on me, wasn't so familiar. Now, after doing some digging, probably we should have been very familiar because they're one of the most powerful and richest families in the world. Just to give you a sense of that, they just celebrated the wedding of their son over the summer. Have you guys heard about this wedding?
No.
It was maybe the most expensive wedding of all time. So the patriarch of the family, Mukesh Ambani, his net worth is estimated at around 120 billion.
Crazy.
They suspect that all the celebrations combined for the wedding of his son was in the range of 600 million. That's how much they spent on it. 600 million. I'm looking at a story here that was in The Guardian, and they said that his youngest son, Anat Ambani, got married to Radhika Merchant, who's the daughter of a pharmaceutical tycoon, and it went up to around 600 million, like I said, which is still just 0.5% of the Ambani fortune. It happened over the span of several days. Among the people who were at the actual wedding, former Prime Ministers Boris Johnson and Tony Blair, David and Victoria Beckham, some Bollywood stars, Kim and Khloe Kardashian, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and many more. It was a big freaking deal. So I'm just trying to give you some insight into how powerful this family is. Okay, now let's get to the goods. Jake Paul, Mike Tyson happens around a month ago. The son says, I want something like this. I want to do something like this. I want something big. They're doing it in Saudi Arabia. They're doing it all over the place. I want something big in India, right? Which is where we reside. And so my understanding, let me just double check this because it's all happening in. My understanding was the first choice is we want Jake Paul. We want to be in the Jake Paul business. We want a Jake Paul fight here in India. And so then the top choice was Jake Paul versus Conor McGregor. That was the pie in the sky idea. And that's why Jake Paul tweeted, once all of this came out, this tweet, now it all makes sense. I'm trying to read this. Now it all makes sense why Conor McGregor and his management team have been desperately trying to get MVP to negotiate for a fight between us. And so, yes, people have reached out and said, all right, there's interest here. Let's try to make this a thing. Let's try to turn this into reality. As we told them privately, and I'm now saying it publicly, the only way we're willing to explore me versus Conor in a pro boxing / MMA fight is if Dana White / the UFC are at the table directly or making it clear they are okay with discussions. And then he takes a shot. Conor is washed, needs the Paul's Logan by however he wants. That is accurate. That's what was said back. Like, hey, is the UFC involved? Is this a UFC thing, or is this just, someone trying to put together a deal? As of right now, the UFC is not involved. As of right now, WWE, which obviously Logan Paul, he works for them. He's a competitor for them, and they just announced yesterday that he was coming back. They're not involved. And my understanding is no one from this family has really talked to those particulars. They're all under the TKO umbrella, and you're looking at the Instagram story, or you're about to look. Sorry, I'm getting confused with the screens here. There's the Instagram story, Logan Paul doing the eye emoji, which means that once Jake said to them, hey, unless you guys are in bed with the UFC, unless the UFC is giving this the okay, I'm not interested. So then the family said...
Can I just say...
Yeah.
That would make sense, and I just want clarification on that. Because they are saying we do not think this could happen without the UFC's blessing, right? Jake Paul and his team are looking at it.
Jake Paul doesn't want to do anything that he's going to get sued for. You're negotiating with our guy. It's a very, tenuous relationship. It doesn't make any sense. Well, we're going to sit and negotiate a deal, and then Dana's going to say, no thanks. Yeah. What's the point? It's a waste of time, really. So then they said, all right, what's the next best thing? It's Logan Paul. But and this is not me trying to take a shot at Logan or anyone else. My understanding was the top choice was Jake, just because Jake has become more of a boxer as of late, as opposed to Logan, who last fought against Dylan Dennis in
You also
October.
said the inspiration was Jake versus Mike. Clear, Jake is that guy. Yeah.
Yes.
Makes a lot of sense.
So spoke to Logan, and there's validity to that, hence the eye emojis and all that. But as of right now, Thursday afternoon, the top dogs in WWE and UFC have not talked to them about this. So it's them saying, hey, I'm interested, you're interested. There's a gigantic, purse attached to all of this. There's a very rich and influential family attached to all of this. Let's make it happen. Now, more on this family. The main channel, as I think we talked about on the show because someone wrote to you about it, the main sports channel there is this channel called Star, which is owned by Disney. Yeah. So they started their own channel, which is called Gio, J-I-O, and basically said, hey, we're going to try to go up against Star, and started to get a lot of the sports rights, and the big one was the cricket rights over there. So recently they came together and merged into a mega channel called GeoStar, which is now apparently worth 11 to 12 billion dollars, the valuation. And this just shows their interest in sport and their power and influence, and
their broadcast reach, and where they could put this. Yeah.
And so as of right now, is there a deal in place? Not necessarily. And as of right now, is it, at the goal line? Not necessarily. But it is real that there is a very rich and very powerful and very influential family in India known as the Ambani family that wants to get involved in a mega event. Are they looking to make a promotion? Are they looking to start something? Are they looking to even do something akin to what Turkey has done in Saudi Arabia? Not necessarily. They want to put on an event. And they're thinking to themselves, who are the biggest names who can make this into the biggest event? And you can make a very strong case that, the two names that would attract all the different sort of fan bases, if you will, would be Conor McGregor and Jake Paul. But there's a lot of issues there. Again, Jake doesn't want to negotiate if the UFC doesn't give the blessing, and Conor can't do this fight unless the UFC gives its blessing, because he still has 2 fights left on the deal. Now, again, was Dana White referring to this? Who knows? Maybe we'll find out in 2025. But as of right now, I know that both fight entities, both fighter parties are interested. The question is, can they get over all the hurdles and roadblocks in order to make this into a reality?
Okay, I have a few questions to follow up. Conor McGregor needs the UFC's blessing, clearly. Yes. But if he gets that blessing, would the fight still be Logan versus Conor? Because at that point, now the UFC has blessed it. Why would Jake not be the one in the fight at that point?
It's a fantastic follow-up, and it might change things. Because, again, I was told by multiple parties that Jake is the one that they want to be in business with.
Yeah, I mean, it would stand to reason to me, if the UFC goes, we're going to do business with this family to put on an event in India for this amount of money, that clears the hurdles for Jake, right?
And the
Jake
family is the
that.
biggest part. If you're willing to pay $600 million for a wedding, what are you willing to pay for this mega fight that will actually make you money as well?
Yeah, imagine it's $100 million, $200 million, $300 million. You know what I mean? That's nothing for them.
No. Right. What?
And everyone will be talking about India. Everyone will be talking about, this family, this is what they want.
I didn't know who they were before this.
So my second question is, clearly, so the UFC is the blockade right now, right? Well, actually, Logan has a contract with WWE.
Yeah.
Theoretically, if I was in the shoes, it actually seems a lot easier to do a fight with Jake and ex-opponent, right? Jake is free and clear. Jake is his own promoter. Jake versus whoever actually feels like an easier obstacle to clear because now you don't have to worry about clearing it with the UFC and breaking that. Is there any thought to that? Would Jake's next fight be
The
with
question
this
is
family?
who?
Yeah, I don't know. But if Conor McGregor is not going to be the opponent for Logan anyway, now you've still got Jake, and you can do Jake versus X. Now, Jake versus Logan, to me, is a big fight that maybe if you can get WWE's blessing.
Listen, I let's just take a step back. If you're Jake Paul and his team, and this has not been said to me, but if you're that team and you say, all right, we were being hit up about this, and then we said, hey, unless like all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, like we're not engaging. And then you go to the brother. Again, I just feel like how does that not create some tension between the two? They're both going after the same prizes, or they're both in the discussion. I don't know if Jake is seeking this, but again, we talked about the history there with Conor as well. And there's probably more juice to that fight. It's just a fascinating time. And again, if we can all just take a deep breath and take a step back, it just speaks to the draw that he is right now, whether people want to admit it or not. It's a wild thing. It's a wild thing that a family of this stature says, like, we want to get into boxing. We want to do a boxing event, and we want this guy to be at the top of the bill. And I've asked them, is this legit? All they've said to me is, the tweet, we stand by the tweet. That's all I've gotten. Look at the tweet. The tweet is what we're saying right now. And so
when you listed the wedding guests, who all did you say?
Kardashians,
Kim and Khloe, Bezos, Zuckerberg, Boris Johnson, Tony Blair, and a gazillion other people.
Doing a little research right now, trying to connect some dots. Don't know if he was there, but it's been confirmed by Forbes and The Cut that he did get an invite. One, Ari Emanuel was also invited.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never know.
For those that don't know, obviously, like the head of Endeavor and very influential in the world of TKO, the big macher, if you will, the big boss. So it's just very fascinating. I say all of this just to say it's a thing. It's a real thing. Does it turn out to be a reality? But there you go. There's Conor this morning. TKO Group, UFC versus WWE. There's levels to this. A big sloppy novice is going to find out. TKO King title. Hashtag biggest generator. Hashtag king of numbers. Hashtag streams. Hashtag pay-per-view. How many damn hashtags? I hold every record, and I'm coming back to KO this novice and rack in more numbers for the company's stock market.
My favorite is the hashtag streams.
My highest pay packet yet. Hashtag thanks for
These
the
are
cheat.
definitely hashtags that people were using at
now,
some
is
point.
this Conor trying to convince someone? Is this Conor,
Do you think Logan Paul is the most famous person associated with WWE? I guess other than The Rock? The Rock, obviously.
Yeah, The
like,
Rock's
The Rock
probably
and
number
Conor
one.
aren't going to...
Yeah, because like you could say like the Roman Reigns of the world, but Logan transcends all of that.
got more
so
fan base.
So like the biggest name from the UFC, the biggest name from WWE?
yeah, but the big problem is UFC and WWE aren't involved.
Right,
not yet.
I'm saying
Now, I'm sure
eventually.
they'll be happy.
But the way Conor's billing it is UFC versus WWE.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then there's the fair question, like, does anyone care?
From a fight
People will
perspective.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. People will care. The same way they bellyached about Tyson and Paul, they will watch. But ultimately, like,
Does anybody want to see them fight?
this rivalry of... Just because people watched it doesn't mean it was their top choice. Doesn't mean they ultimately, like, deep down felt some sort of way. So,
Curiosity is sometimes
UFC
the
versus
factor.
WWE rivalry, I've never believed is a thing because people are able to distinguish the difference between the two. And so to try to bill it as such, I think is kind of a slippery slope as well. If it's UFC versus boxing, which is what Floyd versus Conor was, I think that's a whole different ballgame.
You raise a good point. You could cast the kind of stink that you don't necessarily want on it in terms of prescripted,
People will definitely want to see Conor McGregor potentially beat up a Paul brother, though.
Do you?
But I think they'd rather see him beat up Jake if they're rooting.
And I think he would rather beat up Jake if we're being honest. Do you think there's ever going to be a day where these mega matchups, these fantasy things, are MMA fights? Do you think anybody's ever going to pay for this type of money, give this type of attention to MMA? It always seems to be in the boxing realm, I think, because boxing is such a global sport. There's so much more money for the top athletes in it. So naturally, the fighters are going that way. One day, 20 years from now, is this going to be like the richest family in the world is trying to make the MMA fight between XYZ?
Okay, so when you said one day, I thought you were referring to like next year.
No,
20 years from now is
the
down
future.
the road. The barrier to entry is just so much more difficult, right?
Yeah.
Like they have everyone. And so there isn't this like, what's Floyd doing these days? Or what's Manny Pacquiao doing these days? Like all those guys are kind of locked up, or they're not big enough if they're not locked up to warrant something like this. So the other thing is, let's be honest, and I have to choose my words wisely. If you're trying to get an influencer to come over and you say, all right, devote the next 4 months to just boxing, I think it's a little bit more palatable than saying devote the next 4 months to boxing, wrestling, kickboxing.
Yeah, MMA is more complex of a sport. It's more dangerous. There's more risk of injury involved. So it's easier to get someone like Logan Paul to box Floyd Mayweather or Conor McGregor.
We're going to do a 2025 preview show that will come out on Monday. Perhaps this is going to be one of the big stories to follow. It's a weird one, and trust me, I understand if you're a fan out there who's rolling your eyes and being like, I don't want this, I don't sign up for this, I don't find any interest in this. But when you talk about the Venn diagram that is Uncrowned, well, let's see. MMA, boxing, wrestling, we're right there in the middle. And so here's a message to the Ambani family. This event should be brought to you by the Uncrowned Network. Put it on our YouTube channel, you need a place to broadcast it.
Yeah, we own we own whatever that broadcast channel is worth $12 billion. But let's put it on
Geostar.
Working through the kinks. We could have some cool polls up there for you.
Yeah.
We'll have Frank doing the audio.
Damn right.
GC's fighting on the undercard because we pushed them into a fight at this point.
That's right. GC versus Dylan Dennis. Minus 500. GC.
No, Sean Brady.
Versus Sean Brady in the back on the bike. And
UFC's lending
versus
multiple talent.
We have a director. We have a great producer in the control. I mean, we could literally do it from here. We could broadcast. We did Helwani Vision from here. How different is that? So, and there are venues over there that would be big enough for a production like this. In the cricket venues.
Last thing.
Yes.
Prediction right now.
Does it happen?
No. Not does that specific fight happen. Does a fight happen, and is either Conor McGregor or Jake Paul involved in it?
I think to your point, there's a better chance of Jake.
Yeah. Does it happen?
I think this family. Okay. By the way, the other thing that I was told was that they're not looking for some Wish version of a mega event.
Right.
If it's not mega A++++, they're just going to be like, all right, we'll do something else. My understanding is they built a house, they built like a compound that's worth over $1 billion with a B, with like multiple levels of garages and whatnot. And my understanding was, and I'm kind of all cobbling this together, that they felt like there was bad juju in the construction, and so no one lives there.
And it's just there.
It's just there.
I'll take it. And while we're sending them messages, we'll stream it here.
I started to go down this rabbit hole of this family.
Putting on is nothing.
I will take it.
And it's a fascinating thing. It's just on a whole different level. So, look, there was a big event today in Saudi Arabia. I was watching it, the Ring Gala event. Did you guys see all of that? I mean, it was a who's who, black tie, Ada's there with the tux. I mean, literally every single boxer on the planet, except for maybe like Tank Davis and Canelo Alvarez was there, it seemed like.
Incredible.
Every single one was there, all dressed to the nines. Would you believe Flat Earth himself even showed up to the shindig?
Gives a flying fuck about.
Yeah, and I said the same, Frank.
Hold on. You got to wait for it to finish.
Yeah, I said the same. I said the same, but he was there too. That's how much they were scraping the bottom of the barrel with names.
It was like elite. It was the best of the best.
I know.
Like they're scraping
I too was surprised. I too was surprised.
Shut up.
No. Much respect. It was 80,000 people at George Groves. Anyway, are we entering a world where like this is happening over there and this is happening over in India? Golly.
It feels like if the money is there, yes. The answer is yes. The problem is, I'm not going to be surprised if we start seeing the best fighters in the world start signing contracts with just out clauses where you cannot prevent me from taking these types of fights.
Yeah.
Like that has to be part of it because the money is just there. If you're locked into something, you are prevented from a potential massive payday in this. Now, you may not be of the level that they come calling you, but one day that you may, and all of a sudden you're locked in. A Conor McGregor has way more value to this family than he does the UFC. That's just what it is.
One last thing, if I may,
Sure.
and then I'll let you guys go. You were talking about Alex Pereira and Magomed and the tweets and
you got something.
Yeah, you know what I got? I got silencio. Crickets.
Oh, you hit him up and
I was like, is this legit or are we just messing around?
Let me
throw.
You know what I got?
What's your feeling on it?
What's my feeling?
Like, what does your instinct say is happening here?
What if Pereira is? It's going to be Conor McGregor versus Logan Paul main event, co-main event. Alex Pereira versus Jake.
Versus Jake?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, remember that call out?
Yeah.
That one seems to have died.
There's heat.
Yeah, Alex is in the UFC, the same way they all die.
Yeah, I know, but that one never really got going. I don't know. I feel like Alex is just trying to rile him up. That's
okay.
my thing.
Yeah, I think it's just.
But honestly, like that's just me guessing.
Yeah.
I've been left unseen, as they say in the business. You know, It's a tough spot, but happens to the best of us. So there you have it. There's the news of the day. Tremendous show, gentlemen.
Thank you.
I bid you adieu.
All right, thanks, brother. We'll see you at the Christmas party.
Yes.
Thank you, Aaron.
Can't wait. Yes. Dumplings for all.
Dumplings for all. Let's go.
Is that tonight?
No.
Oh,
missed it.
Frank.